Shalom family, this is me, Mary C, coming to you yet again with another video. And I just recently saw a report, and the report was about Russia on the Ukraine border. Family, Russia's showing out right now. I'm just going to say it. They're showing out. They're over there conducting tactical exercises with, shooting and it sounded like bombs, but I know they probably were not what I would, I'm not a military person, but sounded like bombs in the background, and you're seeing somewhat tiny explosions or what have you. But they're over there on the border conducting exercises, tactical exercises. So I think that we are like that close, really, that close to war. I think it's going to happen, and I think it's going to happen pretty soon. I spoke yesterday about, that false flags were mentioned in the news. I don't doubt that that will happen somehow, some way. We will have a few of them. Who's going to be responsible for them? Who's to say? Again, I said yesterday, who can you trust? So who's going to be responsible? We don't know. But I do believe that war is something that's going to happen. And as a result of that, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I believe that the United States is going to have foreign soldiers in our land. And they're not working with us. They will be working against us or fighting against us. So with war facing us, staring us in the face, and we have foreign boots on our soil, do you think that they're going to possibly declare martial law? It's possible. This is one thing that I've seen in my visions and my dreams. I've seen soldiers here, and I didn't know whether they were foreign soldiers or domestic soldiers, but I have seen them, and I saw us as citizens of America hiding and seeking shelter during that time frame. So in the event of soldiers being on our soil that are foreign soldiers, that's not a good thing, and because it's not a good thing, I believe that they would declare martial law. They would declare martial law if there were civil unrest, if there were issues with our own citizens, possibly having an issue with our involvement with world events. Civil unrest could result in martial law. So what is martial law? So a real simple description of it is a takeover of normal civilian functions by military government. And an official description of martial law from the Office of Justice Programs says, martial law involves the temporary substitution of military authority for civilian rule and is usually invoked in time of war, rebellion, or natural disaster. So, when martial law is in effect, the military commander of an area or country has unlimited authority to make and enforce laws. So, what happens in the event of a martial law? It would mean that we could have some of our freedoms impinged upon. So if we look at the First Amendment, that is freedom of speech, assembly, and the press. So under like civil unrest, we could face censorship. And I hesitate to say that because we're seeing that right now, especially on social networks. you're limited with what you can say. Certain words, you'll see a lot of the creators and folks that are being interviewed are careful what words they're using, because they don't want to get strikes or have their videos taken down. So people are very, very careful. Why? Because of censorship. So we're already seeing that right now. Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. So in the event of martial law being declared, it could mean confiscation of firearms from your average everyday citizen. So that's another one. Third Amendment, freedom from housing. So in the event that, let's say, we do have either civil unrest that's really chaotic, or war or natural disaster, you may be asked to free up your home. Could be the entire home. It could be rooms in your home, or it could be the usage for the soldiers to erect tents in your yard. So housing is the Third Amendment. Fourth Amendment would be protection from unreasonable search and seizure. So unreasonable search and seizure. Now, I did find out that the ones that would conduct the search and seizure would not be your military. Federal military would not do it because they have certain limitations on what they can do within the guidelines of a declaration of martial law. However, National Guard, they're exempt from those limitations, and National Guard could conduct a search and seizure. So if the firearms were going to be confiscated, chances are it would be at the local level, and it would be National Guard that would do something like that. And I want to also say that those of us on social media could be put in position as people of interest. I'll just leave it like that, okay? Because of some of the things that we talk about. Fifth Amendment, protection of life, liberty, and property. And in the event of martial law being declared, the military or the government could take goods that they deem necessary for the emergency. So that could be some of your stored up pantry items. It could be anything that they deem necessary for the emergency. So I wanted to kind of go over 7 things that we can do in the event of a declaration or them declaring martial law. So what can we do? So I have together just a little brief list, and I'm not going to be on here very long, but I felt that it was necessary to come and talk to you guys because of the events that are going on, and we need to be ready. We need to be prepared. And this is not it's not an extensive list. These are simple things that anyone can do and or think about, and it's not the end all be all. So I want you guys to be thinking for yourselves on what you can do, and if possible, if you've got some ideas that I have not listed when I list it, that I have not listed here, do what you always do. You guys are so wonderful. I love you for that. Add it in the comment section. Add your suggestions on what else we can do in the event that this happens, so that we all, as a family, can be prepared. So, what to do? Number 1, And these aren't you know me, I put things together. They're never in any specific order unless I say so. But this one is not in any specific order. I just wrote them down this way, okay? So one is not more important than the other. They're all important, I think, okay? So what to do? I have down here, try not to be that person of interest, okay? Moderate your activities. If you have never heard of gray man, look it up. Do a search on YouTube and you'll find some information on how to be and what it means to be a gray man. Gray man is pretty much blending in. You're a person. You're going to try your best to be a person of non-interest, someone who just blends into the background and doesn't spark any suspicion or anything like that. So you want to moderate your activities in the event martial law happens. You want to moderate your activities and just be that gray man. Number 2, do an inventory check of your supplies. That means your food items, your first aid, medication, prescriptions, items that you would need for protection, security. Do an inventory check. Also, items that you would need for communication, for family members and friends. So you want to do an inventory check. Make sure that you have, it would be similar to sheltering in place. Just make sure that you have your usual items that usual supplies for your day-to-day, but also do an inventory of your stocks, your stock supplies, that you would have in your pantry, your stockpile of items. And under that, you probably are going to want to hide what you can of your supplies. Be smart. Be smart. If you can find some place where you can store food in the event of an emergency, after that emergency, find somewhere safe that you can hide some resources, some supplies, medical supplies, food, water, you name it. If you're in a cold area, blankets and coats and extra stuff like that. If you're, not in a cold area, things that you would need to survive. And I know that that's not something that everyone can do, but if you can, I'm suggesting you do it. Hide some of your supplies. So if military comes in and it is not working to your advantage, foreign soldiers come into your neighborhood or your area and they want to ransack and take whatever they can, put something, somewhere where you can go and have access to it for your family that no one else knows about, and you want to survive. We're going to do this, and our goal is to survive. So you have to do what you have to do, okay? And then again, I said to check your stockpile, but also to do a check on your everyday items. And again, that's prescriptions, your medicines, your first aid stuff, your things that you use on a daily basis. You want to make sure that you can maintain that too, as well as your stockpile. So that was number 2. Number 3, you want to assess your family situation, okay? So if you have kids in college that are away in another state, or they could be even in the same state, chances are that they're not going to come home right away, or they may not come home. They may keep them in school, in the school situation. But if they do, you want to have some form of communication with them, be able to communicate with them, to stay abreast on what's going on and how they're doing. And if you need to move, you have communicated with them the location and what they need to do, the time frame, all of that. So you want to assess your family situation. You may have seniors, a mom or a pop or someone in a senior care or health care facility. And you want to also be able to communicate with the facility or with your senior parents, grandparents, so that they can stay in the loop of what's going on, and you can ensure that they're still being cared for and have the needs that they and have their needs being supplied. If you need to, you can make sure that you can supply those needs. And that was number 3. Number 4, have a flee plan. In the event that martial law is in effect and you're seeing things go sideways and you see danger coming your way, have a plan and make sure that your family knows what this plan is if you have to leave your home. Have a flee plan. Plan to flee. Number 5, stay informed. So, you want to talk with your neighbors. Now, when I say you want to talk with your neighbors, be smart about it. You want to talk with your neighbors to gain information, not to give it unless you have some information that's vital and will help your neighbors. Okay, that's okay. If you have gotten hold of some information that you know is from a good source, and it will help your neighbors. However, you're not going to know all of the people that you can trust. Those that you can trust and you can trust, and you can kind of share things, kind of under the table. However, when you're talking to your neighbors, for the most part, some of them are talking to the soldiers. So you are talking. Your goal is to talk to gain information, because you want to know what rules are in place. You want to know regulations. You want to know restrictions, and you want to make sure that your whole family is on board. Your whole family is on the same page. Okay. So stay informed, but do it smartly. Number 6, use good common sense. Be smart. Don't panic. If you are communicating with your neighbors, you want to make sure that you're somewhat on the same page as your neighbors too, in the sense of, let's say, under this martial law, your neighbor has gone to the store and they are out of water. You want to mirror what your neighbor is saying and doing. If you have water stored in your house, you don't want them to know about it. If they're saying they can't find it, they don't have it in the stores, you don't want them and you don't want anyone else to know what you have. So you want to mirror them. If they say they went to the store and they're fresh out of water, what are we going to do for water? You're going to be out saying the same thing. Oh my goodness, you go to the store, the shelves are bare, there's no water. What are we going to do about water? You don't want them to know that you have what they need. So you're going to mirror them. You're going to be smart, you're not going to panic, and you're going to work the system, if you will. You're going to work whatever is the standard of what's going on in your neighborhood with this martial law. If people are saying they don't have food, if they're saying that they don't have water, if they're saying that they're in need of this, that, or the other, if they're in need, you're in need. Whether you are or not, you're in need, because you don't want them to be aware of what you have. The other thing is number 7. I was going to say the other thing, but no, I've exhausted number 6. If you can think of something more that you can add to that, be smart, don't panic, feel free. So I'm going to go on to number 7. Number 7 is to be observant. While you're observant, you want to appear to be very supportive of whatever this new regime is, even if you're not. And that kind of goes back with being the gray man, being a perfect citizen, not to be in the limelight, kind of in the background, and play the game. So number 7, play the game. Don't make any issues or don't make any noise. Play the game. Be that gray man. Stay alive. Survive. That's pretty much what it is. Stay alive and survive. And you know me, I always have to include some kind of scriptures. And I'm going to do that too. Right now. I want to share something with you. And to give you a little bit of hope here. All is not lost. In the event that we do go into martial law, we got this. We got this. We have the Father. We have the Father. And the more you read the Bible, the more you read the scriptures and pray, the more arsenal you will have to shoot at the enemy. And you know, I go back and forth between, because it's important for us to remember this, that we wrestle not, and I don't have the I'm going to quote it, but I don't have the scripture. Maybe I can look it up for you before I head out of this video. But we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Okay, it's spiritual. It really is spiritual. So if we have, and I mentioned Russia and Ukraine at the beginning of this video. But it's not just them. You're aware of that. It's not just them. It's more than that. And again, it is, you know, we're talking about different nations coming against each other. But we know it's spiritual because, you know, it's a war that is taking place right now between good and evil. And we're winning. Even though it looks really bad from our point of view, because we're in a place that is pretty much dominated by Satan and his cronies. So it looks a little sad right now. However, we're looking in the natural. In the spirit realm, they're kicking butts and taking names. I had to say that. Now, you know my father. They are kicking butts and taking names. Yes. So let me read this for you. Okay. This is Revelations chapter 3 and verse 10. And it says, I'm going to read 10 and 11. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Okay? Hold on to that crown. Oh, yeah, hold on to that crown. But he says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation. So whatever hour we get into that is dark and it looks like there is no way out, hold on, because he's got us. And that's what I mean. He has us. He says, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the world. So they're going to try us. The enemy is going to try us. We know he has but a short time, and he is just going buck wild. He is going crazy. And he is going to attack and try to attack, and he will attack some. He's going to attack the saints. He's going to attack the believers. You have to have your arsenal ready for him. And that arsenal is the Word of God. The Word of God. Get into the Bible and read it. because there's so much in there that you can use against the enemy. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. That's one of them. I use that quite often. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. And, there's so many. There are so many that you can use. Get thee behind me, Satan. There's just read the scriptures. As you go through the scriptures, you will find that there are things in there that you can actually say that will have him running, that will make him flee. So it says in verse 11, it says, behold, I come quickly. Hold the fast, that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Keep the faith. Hold on to the faith. And don't let it go. Hold on to that faith and don't let it go. I printed up this thing, and I'm kind of moving off to something else. I printed up this list. I want to say it was back in 2011. Okay, back in 2011. And in 2011, and I don't have the source of who took the time to put this list together. Now, at that time, people were looking at possibility of martial law then. And when that was the case, there was a lot of speculation about FEMA, okay, and what they were doing in certain areas. And at that time, they were talking about coffins. I'm trying to be careful here. They were talking about martial law. They were talking about protesters. There was all kinds of things that were going on during that time frame. So, talking about the guns being confiscated from, them going door to door. They were talking about camps, a little bit of everything. So, 2011, I looked at this list and I was like, wow. On this list, and tell me if this doesn't sound like someone knew where we were headed. I mean, someone knew that these things were going to be of interest. At the time, they thought it was going to occur closer to the 2011 time frame, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, the number one thing on the list was global money collapse. How about that? The other thing it's on here was, and people are seeing it. I haven't seen it yet, but people are seeing it. Soldiers, U.S. military. There's a presence in our country right now, and I've seen some videos where people were saying they're in my town, and not because there is a what is it called? Where we house them. I can't think of what it's called right now, but you know what I mean. It's not because there's a base, that there's a base in that area. It's just that they're actually seeing our soldiers in their town, walking around in their town, and they're not National Guard. So I have not seen that in my area, but I've heard people talk about it. And then gun ownership and ammo purchase tracking. I was just kind of going down this list and I was like, oh, we're there. They're going to put a food control in place. We could see that possibly happening. I mean, where the shortage continues, restrictions on what you can buy, how many you can buy of a certain product, we could see food control and restrictions headed our way. Civil disobedience, announcement of the U.S. bankruptcy, full national martial law instituted. And one that really kind of had me really thinking was this: people disappearing, people of interest disappearing. Something to think about. controversial people in the news, controversial, whether they be reporters, controversial advocates for certain groups, controversial people disappearing, along with believers. And I'm going to say not just believers, but lead people who have leadership type roles that many believers will follow. And I don't mean the phony baloney ministers that are out there teaching the fluff stuff. I mean those that are teaching soul saving things, the gospel, those that are preaching the gospel, the true gospel, winning souls. We know that the enemy is not going to be happy with that. Those leaders disappearing. So these are things that we really should be looking into and keeping our eyes open. And you know it's serious when you hear someone of interest who could be of interest say things like, know that I love my life and I would never commit suicide, or I would never abandon my family. You know it's pretty serious if you hear something like that. So, I love my family. I would never abandon them. And I would never commit suicide. I just wanted to share that with you, family. You know how much I love you. I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. I love you, and I love my family, and I wouldn't just up and go off without telling someone in my family where I am and where I'm going, and I would never take my life. So, I have given you guys a list of 7 items that we should do, can do, in the event of a martial law being declared in our country. I hope that this information has been good, edifying, informative, and I don't think I missed anything. If you would, I would appreciate if you would communicate with me. Let me know what you think. If there's something that should be added to the list, please do what you always do, and that is to suggest. Put your suggestions in the comment section. Share this video if it will help other people. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. And those that are brand new, welcome to the family. I really appreciate each and every one of you. You know what? I have a shout out, and I will probably do this shout out. I'll do it another time. I'm not going to do it right now. But Queen, I love you. I'll do a separate one that actually shouts you out. But Queen, I love you. Thank you very much. So I'm going to say to you all what I always do. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for being a part of this family. Thank you so much for reaching out and loving on your brothers and sisters within this family. I love you. But you know, our Heavenly Father, Abba, He loves you more. He does. He loves you so much more. Shalom.